आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणामाकृतिं स्मरेत् येन विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धन्ति च मनोरथाः लक्ष्मीतनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षमङ्गलद्वयं निगमशाखिशिखा प्रवाहम् हैरम्बमम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिग्रं विघ्नाद्रिभेदशतधारधुरन्धरः सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. So this is the Bhāvārtha session for the 46th shloka. In 45th shloka, we have seen how a thought of Brahman can be implemented to bring about the changes, to make us realize that there is that we can to experience it, the nature of Brahman, that thought itself, going through it again and again, that can help us, put us on the right path. So in the 46th, practical instructions are being given. Vivikta asina uparatendriyah vinirjitatma vimalantarashayah विभावयेदेकमनन्यसाधनः विज्ञानदृक्केवल आत्मसंस्थितः विविक्त आसीन उपारतेन्द्रियः विनिर्जितात्मा विमलान्तराशयः विभावयेदेकमनन्यसाधनः विज्ञानदृक्केवल आत्मसंस्थितः. So vivikte asinaha, it means sit in an undisturbed place, sitting in an undisturbed place. Uparata indriyaha, uparatendriyaha. So a person who has sat in a undisturbed place and has made an effort to withdraw his senses. Withdraw his senses as in the sense of taste, smell, and all those things. He started the process of getting detached to these information. Vinirjitatma, conquering the body. Jitatma is to get adhipatya over our manifest itself. Jitatma, jitendriyaha. So vinirjitatma, the one who has conquered the faculties of the body, the chanchalatva of the body. In a way, the one who has a steady mind. There is no chitta vritti. So vimalantara ashayaha, vimala is pure, vimala antara ashayaha, that means with a pure mind. Antara. Vibhavayet, that means the one who has he should contemplate. Vibhavayet kekam ananya sadhanaha. So the one ekam here is the self, that is concentrate, the contemplation of that ekatva. On that, when that is the ananya sadhana, withdrawing from all other manifested faculties, stimulations, etc., etc. When that happens, then vijnanadrak, endowed with the vision of knowledge. Vijnanadrak, through the vijnana of this scientific method of realization, through this method, the one who has acquired drik kevala, the one who is able to see, drishti, the one who has got that drishti to see, kevala atma, atma samstitaha, that is established in the self, that is the true essence, the Brahman we are talking about. So here what they are saying is, the instruction is, sit in a place that is undisturbed and withdraw your senses. Initially, first withdraw our senses, then contemplate upon the purity of self. contemplate in understanding how the Atma is not, does not have any kalmasha. It is not affected by any of these stimulations, the external stimulations. It does not feel pain. It does not feel happiness, but it is no, not happiness. It is blissful in nature. It has a sukha, not sukha. It has a ananda swarupa. So it has a pure sense. So with Vimala Antara Ashaya, that is, then Vibhavayet. Vibhavayet, that means that contemplation, Vibhavayet. On what? On the Ekatva. Ekam, on that self. Ananya Sadhanaha, through the Ananya Sadhana, we have seen a similar word for that in Lakshmana as well. Asadita Shuddha Bhavanaha. So with that kind of determination, with that kind of austerity, we have to pursue it. Ananya Sadhanaha. Then through this scientific process, it is a scientific process because it is a systemized process. So through this, we acquire a drishti. That drishti is able to see the essence of the Atma. Atma is still an expanded form because we're calling it Sukshma Sharira. So there is Karana Sharira, and furthermore, there is we are going way up to the creation of anything and everything. That is Brahman we are going to. So there, that drishti is required, where our drishti is very much restricted to what is manifested. There also, see, we have different kind of drishtis. Certain creatures have heat related drishti. That means they can only see images in terms of heat perception. So if there is an organism that is warm-blooded, they can only view that. Reptiles are usually falling into this category. That is also a drishti. In the same way, we humans have this drishti where we are able to see color, akriti, etc., etc. We are able to register it and we are able to recall it. So like that, there is antara drishti where we are able to sense something different. We are able to see that prakasha. Can't directly see the sun through our physical self, but we can understand the warmth of this drishti. Like for example, one experiment that can be done is switch on the light, sleep with your eyes closed. Ask somebody to switch off a light at some point of time. So that when you are aware that the light is on, you feel a sense of warmth over here. Not exactly the warmth, but there is a prakasha, there is a lightness that is captured through the eyes. That abhasa is still there. Even after somebody switches off the light, also that happens. Sometimes what happens in the same way, when it is dark and somebody switches on the light and we are still lost in that darkness in the mind, that is, the light or the dark has taken over the mind, not just the physical faculties. So then we won't react. The initial reaction, that the pupil dilating and etc. for to the light, that reaction won't be there because our mind is not yet ready to receive that particular information. The only way we can receive information is for 5 different things. So when the mind is not ready to receive that information, therefore these 5 faculties are not allowing, not processing that information. Therefore your body is not reacting to it. So it is possible very much to feel something somewhere else. That means we have not sensed it. Like for example, the emotion that somebody is in some trouble, some loved one is in some trouble, we feel very uneasy, something bad is going to happen. How do we know that? It is because there is the information that we are getting is beyond these five faculties, that is the sensory perceptions. So information can be received, but not through the physical self. Information can be received only through the five sense organs when we are using this sharira. When we are going deep inside, that means when we are seeing the Atma, when we are trying to look at the nature of that one particular Atma, then what happens is we'll be processing information that is beyond this Indriya Gochara, Ati Indriya Gochara. So this process, withdrawing the senses and then focusing our thought with one particular thought, that is Vimalantarashaya, with that particular Ashaya, contemplation of the nature of the Atma, this has brought my mind to a state where it is able to process certain information beyond the Indriya Gocharas, Indriyas. Like how the argument is that when one of the five sense organs is lost, like for example, somebody becomes blind, then there is a heightened sense of smell, touch, etc., 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 especially touch, because they have to feel and they have to recognize. So like this, when what if all the faculties are now given up, the self is not going to stop reacting. It is still going to react. But the information that it is going to get is not going to be the traditional means, that is the physical means. It is going to get through some other form. And that form is what is, that kind of information is what is going to actually make us realize that there is an entity beyond the physical self. That is the reason this process has been given. And this has been given in Bhagavad Gita also. In 6th chapter, I think 11th shloka or something. Shuchir deshe pratisthapya sthiramasana atmanah natyuchritan nati nicham chailajina kushottaram. 11th shloka of the 6th chapter. So there also, when Krishna says the same thing, how do we bring about this process? Then you start with Shuchir deshe pratisthapya vivikta asina uparatendriya. Sit over there in a calm place, in a pure place after the purification. Now, purification, barring we can limit it to very physical self, but here it is basically, when we call Shuchi, it is to bring about a change in the surroundings such that they become neutral. Like, for example, how we sterilize certain surgical instruments before surgery. We are trying to neutralize the environment, our surroundings, by sitting in a particular by trying we are trying to neutralize the surroundings where we are going to sit, so that the stimulus is absent that excites our sensory organs. Like, for example, there is no touch, so there is nobody near me. There is no smell, so there is no foul odor, or there is no some strong scents or anything like that. There is no such things that draws my attention. Then there is it isn't too cold or too hot, because we are trying to focus. If it's too cold, like for example, when we were practicing yoga nidra, we were seeing that there was an option to cover ourselves with something so that we don't get cold. Because once our body, initially we are so accustomed to our bodily reactions that we start to think that whatever our body feels is what we feel. The separation can only happen when there is neutrality involved. Then we see that even when there is neutrality, I am able to experience different things. Like, for example, regardless of the switching on of the light or switching off of the light, if I'm able to understand light. That is, if I'm able to capture that sense of warmth that what light gives, even with my eyes closed, then I know this, it is not related to that particular sense organ or the information processed by that sense organ. So like this, the whole process is first withdraw your senses, then focusing the mind on one singular thought. And the thought over here, it can be that of I am Brahman, or it can be that of the nature of Brahman, etc., 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 like that. So by doing this, it will give us this drishti that will give us kevala, only the Atma Tattva, Atma Samsthita, what is within the Atma, essence of that Atma, that it will give. This is the Bhāvārtha for this shloka. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।